There we go. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I actually do know who Dagwood is. I do. Oh, you do. I believe his wife was Blondie. Or is that a different one? Yes. She was she had an hourglass figure. I was a buxom woman. Of course, I would notice that. So, but I think in a little bit, Jane and Bill, I'll bridge the gap here a little bit because I'm going to bring up something that you will know about. Okay, so yesterday I went to the park, as I usually do, to, just to relax, meditate, read, and for, yesterday's purpose, it was to prepare for this talk. So about an hour into it, this truck pulls in with its music playing rather loudly, and it parks, and I'm wondering to myself, so how long is this song, is he going to be playing, his music? And then I notice he's on the move again, and wouldn't you know it, he parks right next to me. This young man must have heard what I was thinking. So he keeps his music playing, quite loudly. So I just decided to listen to what he's playing because I actually like the music. And these were the lyrics that I heard were "Break on Through to the Other Side." Jenny and Bill, do you know that song? By the Doors. Okay. It's a great rock and roll song by Jim Morrison. It's one of those ones that you really want to get into, if you're into, air guitar and just singing alone and dancing alone and just, really getting into it heavily. So as I was listening to it, it dawned on me that is what really we're talking about today in clearing clutter, is that there is, we need to break through and touch that tender, soft spot of ours, that place within us where there's loving kindness and compassion, right at the very deep part of our soul. So it's about being mindful. It's about cherishing life and holding it sacred while knowing the impermanence of nature and all things. It's about knowing what is truly precious to you and when it's time to freely let go. So this is what the Buddhist teaching would call hang on a minute. I'll get it. Because it's not bodhisattva, it's bodhicitta. Okay? It is that awakened heart of loving kindness and compassion. So the practice is to tap into that sweet, soft spot, gently looking at the story lying underneath any object, any thought, any belief that we may be holding on to, and that's holding us back. And so it's looking through that lens of the middle path. The acting, not acting on anything or repressing. It's what Pema Chodron would say, there's nothing to transform, we just feel what is there. It is that space of that we will know what to keep and what to let go. So it sounds rather simple, and it can be, as we practice it and enter into the space, but we have this habit of just holding on so tightly, to our beliefs and even to our objects, because they take on, we give it a meaning, our objects. So we also think that these things are going to give us security and safety, when in reality that security and safety comes from within. It comes from knowing who we are, knowing our oneness with everything around us. But we still give these things our full attention, that this is what's going to save us and bring us peace and happiness. So we get stuck. We get stuck in these certain ways of being, certain ways of looking at things and expecting other people to be a certain way. And then the energy becomes stagnant. This is what feng shui expert Karen Kingston says is, the clutter accumulates when energy stagnates, and likewise, energy stagnates when clutter accumulates. In other words, the clutter is a symptom of what is happening in your life, and then it becomes part of the problem because the more of it you have, the more stagnant energy accumulates. So we get into this cycle that can be quite hard to break out of, if we don't have the practice, we don't let it come into our awareness. It's kind of like some of you who read the Forgive for Good. We can have those circling planes, those thoughts that just don't go away and we're trying to figure something out, but we just really need to rest in it and let it be and let the answer come when it's meant to come. So when we're in this cycle, things can pile up in our home. We forget, what the truth is. We can become quite unconscious. So we no longer feel free, we no longer have a clarity, and the answers don't come. The movement isn't there. So instead of it, lost my spot. When we have these cluttered, when our mind is so cluttered, we also think that we don't have time, to do anything, and then it just keeps on piling up and piling up. So the antidote is really the same. We just allow the problem to come to our awareness, see it for what it truly is, feel it, and let it move through us. And then we enter into that awakened doing. So I want to share with you how that has played out for me. But I first want to tell you that there are 4 categories of people of how we organize our stuff. And this is by the organizational experts. And I had a former girlfriend who had a need to tell me about this after I had lived with her for a couple of weeks. We were still getting used to how we were doing things. And obviously it was different from each other. So the first one is the nester. This is the one who likes to personalize. That's not me. Then we have the filer. This is the one who is organized and likes systems and can create systems. That's not me entirely. I could do that. In my dental assisting work, I can do that. The piler doesn't like systems at all and is afraid of discarding anything and is the multitasker. That's not my either. The fourth one is the spreader. There are things migrate. There's little piles all over the place. Might be the same grouping of things, but there's different piles of the same thing. So, gotta flip that chair in there. Most of my piles are in my room. I think I tried very hard not to create those out in community space. She's not saying yes. That's okay. Sometimes I will forget to leave things, but I definitely do that. And so I am both, the spreader and, what the spreader can't do is create a system. And, it's true. I can't create a system. I'd like somebody to come into my room, especially my desk area, and create a system, and then I could work with that. And that's how it worked for me in a dental office. I was taught a system, and I kept that system going and may add to it. So at the beginning of this year, I did what everybody, most of us do. We have a New Year's Eve service where we renew and release, and I really made a conscious decision that's what I wanted to do. So I started doing that in my room, cleaned up, filed some papers. I had a box of my homework and papers that I'd written, and it got stacked in this one corner in front of a window. And I knew I needed to clear that space, because it was blocking energy. So I got that taken care of, and I took care of my desk area. And I had an old desktop computer that I put back in its box. Once broke because I couldn't decide if I wanted to fix it or not. So it became a table. So I decided, okay, time to get rid of that. I moved it from that spot to another spot in front of the window that I cleared. It sat there for probably a month or two. I even had some private clients tell me, oh, you bought a new computer. No, I just moved that box from there to there, bumped into it several times as I would go to open up the blinds, stubbed my toe. And so I'm working with this idea that there's things I need to move forward on. And one of them is this final paper I need to write. And so as I've got this, put this out to the universe, I walk into my room one day and I said, I've got to move that. And I have to get rid of it, and I did. I took it to e-waste. I kept the box, but that's in my car. Okay, so it's not bad. That needs to find another spot. That needs to. And then shortly after that, it felt so much freer in that space. The energy was able to flow and move. And once you know it, with that clarity came the clarity of, oh, I know what I want to write my paper on. And other little things started, creative things started coming up. And I was more motivated because, I know there's probably a very specific feng shui thing about not having anything in front of a window. But it's really being aware that these things, as they pile up, really do have an effect on us on the inside. And as we clear that up on the outside, and then it clears things up back on the inside. It's this cycle of in and out. And, it was kind of amazing, but at the same time, we need to expect those things to happen. We do the work, and then we just open, to what God has in store for us, for what is new to come. Just like this picture. You've got an old beef there with this new growth coming in, and that's really what can happen. We let go of all the old stuff that, it may have some meaning to us, but it isn't really who you are. That is, a really good thing that we need to ask ourselves. So this is a spiritual practice. Give yourself a small project to do, just one small space maybe to clear at a time, one habit you want to change. And, maybe hold that object, hold that, thought in mind of what you want to change. And then ask yourself these questions. Do I love it? Do I use it? Does it lift my spirit? And just let the answer emerge. I mean, if you can't say yes to one of these questions, then it's time to let it go. It's not working for you. So we do get to make that choice. We don't have to let our things and our thoughts act upon us. We can act upon it. So that gives us much, much more freedom. So this brings us back to breaking through to the other side. When we let go of something fresh and new emerges. And that which is exactly supposed to emerge. We don't push it. We just let it unfold. So it's simply about touching the heart of God and letting the heart of God touch each one of us. And to move through you into awakened awareness and become awakened doing. So this is, as you would say, your invitation for today is to look at those things and just to open your heart.